Okay, so been doing a little bit of cleaning up of the UI, nothing too crazy, and I've been updating some packages along the way. So SvelteKit is just released 1.5, so they're moving along. It's always getting updated, and what else? We're at 4.1.1, so I'm just keeping all the packages updated as over time. But last time we kind of sorted out the closing of our accounts, closing the ledgers, and not only the token accounts but the actual ledger PDA as well. Added the testing with the async, expecting like an async function to fail or have expecting that to error, and so we've got all of that. The UI changes I've done pretty subtle. Added maybe a little bit more with the toast, I think. So here I've got my Soulflare wallet going, and it's pulling up more. Yeah, I've done a little bit more view and explore right now. I'm still on the localhost, so I'm not using anything with Devnet just yet. But yeah, everything is, functionally speaking, I feel like pretty good. So what I would like to do is I'd like to look into deploying this. I'd like to deploy to the Devnet for Solana, and I'd like to ultimately deploy the actual front end as well. And I have to admit, I've been having some issues with using with some of the packages and the dependencies, and in particular vite.config. Where is it? Vite.config. Yeah, I've tried quite a lot of different approaches, and I have a little starter kit app that I try to keep aligned with this, and this particular one shows I've got a GitHub repo I put out there, and I'll add it to this video, but it's a starter kit using kind of the original ledger program, which I called PDAs, and I even did some data fetching with a page load file, this sort of thing, because through this project I've certainly have really began to really learn the benefits of loading and maintaining your state. If I can leverage the data prop and SvelteKit's data loading, it just makes things much more tenable, much more not tenable, but much more easier to manage compared to a bunch of kind of unique custom stores and manually updating all that state. So this is a nice little starter kit, and I went kind of on a little trial run with it. It doesn't have as nearly as many. It only has one Anchor program. We don't do like API endpoints with this one, but it has kind of the foundations in place. That said, the vite config, boy, I've had to go through a lot. So vite updating to 4, SvelteKit making all of its updates, Anchor and Solana Web 3 using kind of node only modules. Like this is stuff that honestly it's a gap in my knowledge. So when it comes to bundling and building and stuff. I just haven't done enough of it. So I went through and ran through the SvelteKit forums and whatnot, and a bunch of references. It's ugly, but I found one that kind of works. And I also had to see app package. I also had to update this dev dependency, this Vite plugin node polyfills. Seemed to have a bit of success with others. And I had to install the project serum Anchor as a dependency. And again, let's see. This is all thanks to this guy who makes all of this possible. This is Sylvester. I'm not fully sure of his full name, but this guy, he's the one that does the Svelte on Solana library, so which I've been using to get the wallet store and the Anchor workspace store objects. So this guy has this one demo app that's running his full-on Anchor workspace, his package, along with SvelteKit and Vite, and using what he has. I was looking at his particular, really getting into the weeds of it, and it looks like for him, looking at his package.json, he also had to install Anchor as a dependency. This is really kind of helpful because I've still continue to have some issues with this, with Vite in particular, Vite 4, and I think there's some differences, like so Vite in dev mode. So when you do npm run dev versus npm run build, Vite for development, I don't think, you have to read the docs, but I don't think it does like any of this bundling or polyfill stuff. So anyway, there's so much to this space. I really don't get it, and I have to tell you, this is a part that I don't like about this, working with these kind of configs and just trying to figure out what the hell is going on. So thankfully for this smaller project, this was able to work. So my hope is that I can, with the larger project, I can do the same. So I've literally just copied over this particular configuration. I have a bunch of other failed attempts and references, and you'll see. But yeah, so back to my app. I currently have this is running on the local, so I'd like to first get this Anchor program deployed to Devnet, so that one of the things I'd really like to do is figure out how to get my custom SPL token to persist. And currently by running this locally, every time I have to restart the validator, I lose that custom token. So that's why we have this whole setup routine to connect the wallet and set up by essentially creating token and token accounts and minting supply. I'd like to kind of figure out how can I just have a persistent single token, and kind of work out how that would go. So to do that, I'd need to get to Devnet. So first things first, we have in Anchor.toml, one of the things you always have to do is you list out your programs, for your different clusters. So this is the local net, but in Anchor.toml they also have a Devnet. So you obviously need to build and deploy, but you need to point to the correct cluster. Right now our cluster is this that one, but instead I need it to be Devnet. Okay, I've got the wallet, I've got got some stuff. So now gotta go back to, this is all a mess. Let me shut down some stuff. So make sure that I'm gonna close this down. We're not gonna mess with the front end for now. And I'm gonna open up some cluster endpoints. Yeah, so there are the docs for Anchor, the CLI, and Anchor.toml has quite a lot of, it's got a lot of good details on, what you can work with. So it's really not too hard to deploy to Devnet. And what I will do is I'm going to actually close all of this down. I'll just open up a new terminal. So from the high level, so I'm at the root. If I do Solana config get, this shows me what my local configuration, my current configuration is now. Everything is pointing right now to the local host validator, the test validator. So if I want to update this, I just do Solana config set, and then there's this URL flag, URL, and then rather than localhost, we do devnet. Change that, and it outputs, okay, here's the updated setting. I'm about to deploy stuff, so I was just checking my balance, because it costs some money to deploy programs on Devnet, even with the test validator locally. So I think it's just a Solana airdrop. Yeah. So let's do V3. See what happens. Balanced unchanged. If I do Solana balance, did it work? No. Maybe, I know sometimes you can't ask for too much. Okay. Let's do it one more time. Smaller increments. I think we should be okay. Or not. Maybe they don't like me making so many requests. It's not my, okay. All right, so I've got 3.76-ish SOL. I think that should probably be enough. So now if I do Anchor build, right? So now, well, yeah, it's a moment of truth. So, okay, that builds just fine. Now let's do the deploy and get lucky. I'm going to pause for a second. Okay, so ran it through and encountered this error. It's news to me. And so it was able to deploy a few of my programs. However, the escrow program, the final program, had this kind of pop up here, and I was like, recover the intermediate accounts ephemeral key pair file with yada yada yada. So I started searching around, And yeah, this is kind of a thing. So if you have to resume a failed deploy, you can access kind of this temporary key pair file is generated only if you generate it yourself. So you have to do something like Solana keygen recover, and then you specify the output location, and this is, you can put it anywhere. So I just tried intermediate.json, and I copied this passphrase essentially, and so, or the seed phrase. So I was just curious, after doing that, what happens is it will recover the public key, a new public key. When I was looking at this though in more detail, you get this error: deploying program failed, custom program error 0x1, and that I am familiar with. That means you're actually out of money. So I looked at my balance, and yeah, eating and deploying these programs is costing me a bit. So I had 3.7, and I've now deployed my 3 programs, and I guess this escrow program is kind of costly. So what I'm going to have to do is, let's do another Solana airdrop 1, and I'm probably, once this passes, I'll do it again just to ensure that we have enough. And once this all rate limit, okay, well, let's just see. I've got 2.3 sol, 3.2. So let's do Anchor deploy. Let's see. It's gonna do. It's gonna do them all. So if I'm gonna do Anchor, because I think if I do Solana program show programs, this should point to Devnet now, and it's processing. Let's see. Obviously, this is one of the things I've been wanting to test out, is just the differences between working locally with a test, a test validator, versus a proper putting it on the Devnet. I think the latency, I'm curious just to see how interacting with the apps will behave. Error sending request. So that's done now. Let's try it again. I think I do anchor keys list. This shows the program IDs for all of the, so none of this should have changed. And if I scroll up, this may have failed anyway, but if we look, ledger, program ID, voting, and what is this, 3i? Yeah, this is the default starter program. And then last, I'm waiting for the, so if I do, okay, this is timing out. Let's do anchor deploy, but we know we can do the P flag, and this time I'm just going to target the escrow, because all of them have been built. Insufficient funds. Oh, look at that. So it needs 2.429 yada yada sol to deploy this. So what I need, again, wow, anchor airdrop 1. Let's see if we get some sort of response. Great. Now I can deploy. I've already deployed the others, so I don't think I need to bother with this deploying them all again. Because if I do that, then obviously I need to get some more funds in the wallet on Devnet. So let's see if this works for us. All right. Well, I paused it and just to let it do its thing, and still getting error processing instruction. This custom program error of 0x1, that is out of money. So if I do Solana balance, what do I have now? Wow, yeah, okay. So this thing is costly. Maybe I should have just targeted out just the ledger program rather than trying to deploy all of these, but oh well. Let me get this sorted out and I'll be right back. Okay, finally. So Devnet was not helping out. It was constantly kind of failing when I was trying to airdrop enough. So this Faucet.com, pretty handy for performing an airdrop. I'm not exactly sure why it doesn't always work just directly from the CLI, but oh well, it worked. So what happened is I started out with 4.89 Sol, and finally just deployed targeting the escrow program, and now I'm curious, Solana balance. Wow, 0.03. So that was just for that particular program. My escrow program is like almost 5 Sol. So yeah, all right. Well, I don't know. It's a pretty good program. But yeah. So now that is deployed, that's essentially it. That is deploying a program on Solana's Devnet. And to verify that, let's try something. So here's my let's see. Let me go back into here, and we're no longer using the validator. So I'm gonna go ahead and exit out some of this stuff. But we do need to boot up our front end. So again, this is still issues with Vite and some of these node modules, like you can kind of see, cannot type error, cannot read properties undefined. There's some stuff that I gotta sort this out a little bit. But if I get npm dev going, so now our front end app is gonna error out. There's just some weird configuration errors. Not 100% sure. So if I go to front end and let's try to connect. Need to do my password real quick. Okay. So error, getting balanced, blah blah blah. If I take this out, it loads. If I click on the airdrop request failed. And the reason is, now that, and I'm chosen to use Solflare, I'll show you in a little bit, but Phantom has made some updates to their app, which looks cool, but I no longer can see or find the local host as a setting, as an option. So so Solflare, if I click on this, I click into my account, the settings currently our local host. That's what I've been doing. But if I change it to Devnet, which is correct, go to Devnet and maybe a disconnect. I think it had an issue originally, so this is not the prettiest UI. There's something with my the fonts not loading correctly or whatever, but if I click on Solflare extension and then I hit and then I hit bombs out. Let me see. That doesn't seem right. I should not have one soul. Network Devnet. Huh. I'm not convinced that my wallet is connected to the right network, to be honest. I have a feeling I feel like there was something kind of hanging on the. So here we go. Let's try this again. Soul balance 0. Showing 1.99. I'm confused. Let's see. Failed to fetch. It's not getting the. Yeah, all right. Doesn't work that easily. All right, so actually what's going on is, well, think about it. Well, you may already know, but what I have is I have to specify my connection. I have to set up my Solana connection. Well, currently I'm doing that in my Svelte routes, the layout component, and it's right here, 24, where I have the network specified as localhost. So I actually need to change my connection, my network, in my SvelteKit app to no longer point to localhost, but instead we can do just Devnet. I believe that cannot find. Oh yeah, from Web3. If I do, yeah, cluster API URL. Cool. And if we point to here. Yeah, cluster, it's an API or Web3 cluster, undefined string. So I feel that would work. Is there anywhere else that I'm doing network? Because that's the main network. Doing it in the escrow. Yeah, in my constants. Okay. So, how about this? This is the main layout component. I'm going to go to ledgers and I'm going to go to its constants and I'm going to change the network from that to Devnet. And then let's find this would just be a string, devnet. What is the actual string URL? I think it's it may be this registry here. Gotta look, because in the wallet network, it's yeah, so I need to get this as a point it to that URL. So not using the cluster API, but just trying to get this thing to boot up. So at least for the Ledger program, maybe not the other programs. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and get those fixed up real quick. I'll be right back. Alright, so I should have all the networks updated for the programs. So what this means is that now when the actual Solana connection is created and it's connecting to the pointing to the right cluster, which we'll have our program sitting on that because they've been deployed. And yeah, so that should be in place. So now our wallet and the workspace should be pointing to the correct instances. So if let me just refresh this and let's try. Yeah, okay. So I just connected my Solflare and now it's correctly reading the balance. Okay. So yeah, so all right. So recap, I have to change in my Anchor.toml file. I have to specify the provider's cluster. So here, then I need to update my config. Make sure that it points to, so I could do config set and then the URL and point it to devnet, and that I don't need to do that, it's already done. After we do that, important, make sure we have a lot of Sol, depending on what you're deploying. And so I think I'm actually going to see if I can get another airdrop. Get lucky, because 0.03, not working. So I'm going to go back over to this. It's the same public key address. Click on the devnet. Cool, thank you. So now we have some money. Great. All right. And from there, we need to, you then run your Anchor deploy or Anchor build and Anchor deploy commands It should deploy just fine. And then you need to configure your front end to, make your network point to the correct URL versus your local host URL. And also double check that your wallet setting, when you connect either Phantom or whatever wallet you're using, you check the network and that is pointing to the correct one. So once you have all that good to go, and in like this case it's connected, it should technically it should work. So I can try this airdrop, but it seems like it's not liking my wallet right now. Let's see. I clicked it. Could work on the response. Oh, hey, look. All right, so that took a couple of seconds, but hey, it was able to do what my CLI command was not. So we'll take it. So after that, let's go to ledgers. And when I click on ledgers, here we are. It's running. This is fresh. There is really, this is Devnet. So there are no existing ledgers that are associated with this particular wallet. I have not figured out how to persist a single SPL token on Devnet, though I did figure that out for running my Anchor test using kind of local key pairs, key pair files. But for the sake of this, I can hit setup, and yeah, here it's simulating, and it shows it's going to deduct some SOL. This should be, I'm getting another sign with some more SOL, and then it should be one more transaction. So again, this is creating the token mint. It's creating an associated token account. And last right here, this instruction or transaction is minting actual supply to my wallet. So I believe all of that went through. If I go into my Solflare account, sure enough, we now have this new token with 100 units, 100 tokens. And we can see that this, if I zoom in, let me see. No, I can't. It doesn't zoom in on the wallet, but this 7UT, this is my associated token account address for this particular token, 6MS7. So, yeah, that's cool. So I do like Solflare. It's always been good, even on localhost, at showing more details about unique tokens in the wallet. So if I do a create ledger, if I do Solflare, just Solflare 1, let's see what happens. If I create ledger, clicked on that. Taking a little bit longer. Okay, hit approve. Hey, view and explore. Click on that. This is a toast. So the skeleton toast, you can customize it. Showed it, I'll show it again. But yeah, here it is. So we are on Devnet. And here are the transaction details. Confirmation status finalized, and yada, yada, yada. So this is cool. So now you can see, unknown program, 9MCW. Well, that is my ledger program ID right here. So we can see that in the instruction details. Okay. And the various accounts involved, creating account. Again, this was a ledger. So this was our custom program method to create a ledger account. then it's all right here on the Explorer. So super cool. So come back. Oh, what happened to my UI? That's why I want to try this stuff out on. Failed to load resource. The server responded with a status of 500. Create current ledger account. So this is a front end issue, not a on chain issue. We saw that in the transaction. It was successful. It successfully created the ledger. However, I've got an internal server issue on the ledger. Doesn't like my page, so I don't know. I don't know if I can see it. Where are my logs? Let's see. Yeah, something up with this. So what happens, what it's supposed to do is it re-triggers the load. Or invalidate all. So it re-triggers the data fetch and displays. So if I just refresh this, let's see what happens. Well, it's completely disconnected. Internal 500. Yeah, it's not looking good. Something's up with that. So if we go, we're connected, our balance is there. Go back to ledger. Okay, it's here. All right, so this is something for me to figure out. But in terms of deploying to Devnet, we're creating accounts right now on Devnet. So I can close all this down, but these accounts with these addresses are going to be there. So good first step.